Doug is going to talk about today to help us combat the sunset. So without further ado, Doug, I'll let you kind of take over.
Thanks. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining. And I'm Doug Marshall with Resideo. And on behalf of Resideo, I'd like to thank the CMS team for holding this important webinar. I'm going to go and get my share screen up. Give me a moment.
While you're doing that, Doug, I just want to make sure if there's any questions during this presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out. There's a little Q&A chat feature at the bottom. Just put your questions in that Q&A and we will try to address them as they come up.
Perfect. And is my screen up?
Looks great.
Great. I've been in the security industry for nearly 20 years, and many of those with Honeywell, and the last few years has been part of the spinoff with Resideo. Over this time, I've been through all the previous cellular sunsets, and once again, we're burdened with the industry's third cellular sunsets, which we do understand these sunsets take a significant impact on your capital, labor, and attrition. The agenda today is I'm going to cover for really the next 35 minutes a number of topics specific to 3G and some new products, including what Resideo is doing to help. And then we'll spend about 15 minutes at the end answering any questions. Typically, this type of webinar will finish a few minutes early, so there will definitely be plenty of time at the end for any questions. Hopefully there's a chat box up that you can take those questions in as we go through this live.
Yeah, we'll be monitoring that for you, Doug. Great,
thanks. Resideo does operate under a few different names, and there's Honeywell Home, AlarmNet, Total Connect, and Resideo. So first, I wanted to level up everyone's knowledge of what makes up the Resideo business and how Resideo is positioned in the security space through the spinoff from Honeywell. Resideo is a $5 billion business that is publicly traded under REZI and is made up of products and services that include security systems, thermostats, and AlarmNet. Resideo also uses, for some of those products, the Honeywell Home Badge, which we have licensed under a 40-year license with Honeywell. And AlarmNet is a business unit within Resideo and is responsible for providing alarm transport signals from the security system into CMS. AlarmNet also provides the Total Connect 2.0 app, which is the end user app. That's what would be downloaded and a homeowner would interact or business owner with their security system, as well as AlarmNet provides dealer tools that have data insights on your accounts, and those are through alarmnet360.com. We have 5 primarily sites in the US supporting these products and services, those being in Texas, Arizona, New York, Kentucky, and Minnesota. I wanted to share first is what our vision is and what we're working on for the smart home and smart security, and what we're doing to connect you, the pro, with your central station and the homeowners and businesses in a way that you could, in the future, potentially expand your business and give a better experience to your customers. Homeowners today, in particular, have 4 critical networks in their home. Those are being shown on this slide, and so you have the air conditioning system, the HVAC system. Under air, you have security, water, and energy. Today, in most every home, all these systems are independent, but they all really have a story to tell. When you look at these 4 critical networks of the home, you realize that they're talking, they're doing things, but really no one's listening to them. And they each have a ton of data to produce, and that they can tell you exactly what things are going on and what maybe potential problems you're going to have before you have that. So what do I mean by this? Resideo has over 7 million connected devices in homes today. So we know a lot about the data that a home is generating. And with the right sensors and analysis of a security system, we can learn and become smarter and integrate into those other 3 critical networks in the home than just security. I really share this at a high level because this is really our mission at Resideo. The critical systems of the home have a heartbeat. We want to help you, the pro, and the central station be at the center of listening to these other critical systems in homes and businesses and making sense of that data in a way that we can do something meaningful, like preventive critical system before it breaks down. Air conditioners, for example, there's things that are happening that we can sense before they actually completely fail. And we want to get that data into into your customer, into your hands, so that you can do interesting things with HVAC partners in the future. Now, with that, let's kick off our agenda specifically around 3G to ensure that the existing customers with critical security systems is still connected during the upcoming sunset and future sunsets. On average, we are seeing cellular sunsets every 7 years. We went through the 2G sunset in 2017. We're obviously currently in the midst of the 3G sunset. And we don't know precisely when LTE will sunset, but it's likely to end at the end of this decade, around 2030. What we do know is these sunsets will continue on average 7 years, and it does take a significant impact on your business, specifically labor and capital and attrition. And most critically is in 2 months, February of next year, the AT&T 3G network is expected to fully sunset. And we suggest this to be your #1 priority. And this does still represent a significant number of customers that need to be swapped out. And then lastly, on December of next year, the Verizon CDMA network is expected to sunset. And these still represent a significant number of customers, but not anything to the tune of what we see with the AT&T sunset. Now, I did want to provide an update specifically around the AICC, which is the Alarm Industry Communication Committee. They are part of the TMA, and they had a meeting last week and chatted through what's happening with AT&T and a potential extension or non-extension of the February sunset date. So I'll just give you the highlight first, and I'll give you the details after. So the highlight is this: if you were to ask someone in the industry today that's on that committee and say, what are the chances of AT&T getting AT&T to delay the sunset? The answer is truly 50-50. It could go either way right now. What the industry has been successful at right now, we've raised the attention of this to Congress and the FCC. We recently got some press attention, national press attention. It was on Fox and a couple others about a month ago, basically showing that, hey, these systems, there's going to be millions and millions of security systems that are going to stop working in a couple months. People are going to get hurt. People could potentially die. That type of stuff. Creating lots of fear to put attention on this for Congress and FCC to do something about it. Now, Congress does believe this issue has some legs and is working with the FCC. Hearings have started this month on this. And right now, what Congress is basically being told that from us is about 13 to 70% of the public will lose critical monitoring through this 3G AT&T sunset in particular. Now, what's being asked for through this petition from the AFCC is to extend the sunset. So right now, again, February is the current shutoff date for AT&T. We're asking them to match the Verizon one. Right now, for the FCC to take this up, they need 3 votes. They currently have 2, but they only have 4 commissioners, so it's basically tied. There is a third commissioner that's hopefully going to get confirmed in the next few weeks, and if she does, we believe she's a supporter of this, and she would give the third vote. All that's going to do is basically push the FCC to actually take a quick review of this. Really, the result is if this is taken up, it would probably turn into a negotiation, meaning a discussion between a negotiation between AT&T and the industry of what we extend it, right? Is it going to be 10 months or 2 months? That's again best case. Right now, it is not being extended. A couple other things to point out is this sunset's much different than sunsets in the past. So if you've been through sunsets in the past, you will have noticed that the sunsets were kind of a slow drawdown. This is going to be a switch. Literally, the lights go off at the end of February, unlike previous sunsets. And we've already seen issues with the AT&T network when they have an outage or equipment failure on a tower. When the 3G equipment fails, what we've seen is they can't get parts, right? So obviously, we know there's issues with parts, especially with legacy stuff like 3G. So they just take that tower down, and then we lose coverage in that area. Now, the problem when that happens is there's a very important part of the frequency that's being used for 5G that's also used on 3G. So it's that frequency is 850 megahertz. So it's that 3G, the 850 megahertz that's on 3G, it's redeployed to 5G, is a really critical part for us for security, because that's the frequency that gets us into the in-building coverage and home coverage the best. When you hear about 5G, you typically hear about millimeter wave and super fast speeds and stuff. That's a much higher frequency. Very, really not that important for what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's more important for obviously mobile devices and cars and things that need to move a lot of data very quickly. Right now, where we're at as an industry, we had about 6 million security systems about a year ago that need to be upgraded. Now we're down to about 2 million, so still quite a few to go. And I think the emphasis I would put here before I continue on from this update on AT&T would be just understand that this is happening. It's happening in 2 months. I highly recommend if you're not almost done, that you get moving very, very quickly and do not depend on a sunset or extension. And if we do get one, it's really a gift at this point. All right, next I'm going to walk through the tools to help you locate and map out your 3G swaps. This would be AlarmNet 360, and this is a screenshot of AlarmNet 360. And this is an owner level view. Certainly your operations and managers have access to this if you give them access. And this is where they can see very quickly everything that's going through accounts. Where, and if you're not using AlarmNet 360 tools today or need to get access, you can set up, you just log into alarmnet360.com, and there's an option at the bottom right to sign up. Now, the data here is a quick view of those 3G accounts, but it also includes on things like what cell network your accounts are using. So that's shown in the top right here. The data can be exported into a spreadsheet for your team to sort. You would just select the export function highlighted in the yellow oval in the top right of the slide. This data dashboard is updated every 2 hours, and the time date stamp is shown at the top middle. Another useful tool here is also at the top center, which gives the ability to filter your accounts by age. And also you can filter the ones that are in COM fail. So if I selected that COM fail, which is highlighted in the top left, this is a screenshot, but if I was to select it, it would narrow down your accounts, the ones that are in COM fail, so you can maybe focus on those a little bit differently than maybe other accounts. Next, staying on this dashboard view, if you were to scroll down on AlarmNet 360, you would see this, something similar to this. This provides data insights that will help you prioritize your accounts on those that are most likely or least likely to attrit during a 3G sunset, as well as a specific type of cell units installed to know what equipment is needed for an LTE upgrade. Some interesting data here that is shown on the view would be showing which customers are not using their app or not arming their systems. This can also be filtered by 30 days or longer. And this is done in the area highlighted with the yellow oval in the top center. Other things this shows is customers who have never confirmed their email or set up notifications, or if they have a camera automation service turned on for that account, and then never added a camera or automation device. This will help show those problems. Maybe you can downgrade their service or get them the devices they need or set up to make sure that they're fully using that service that they're paying for and you're paying for. Next, we'll walk through strategies to deploy and address 3G changeouts. We recommend prioritizing 3G changeouts first based on the cellular carrier type, and then next by the type of service your customer has. So first, of course, we want to start with AT&T because that's the first sunset in February, and then next followed by Verizon, which is December, both next year. Second way to prioritize it is if the account is connected to cellular only, or if they have dual path and internet connectivity. Leaving the dual path customers to last is because they will have a backup. If you have a customer that has cellular internet connected to their system and the internet's working and the sunset takes place, they're still going to have coverage through the internet portion. So that's one of the reasons we suggest you keep those kind of later on the swaps. Next, as you prioritize your accounts by cell carrier and communication type, we suggest categorizing each of your customers based on, first the ones that have interactive services, because typically this is a higher RMR customer, and typically customers with interactive services also have lower attrition. So you have more data on those customers. They're typically a better customer. So we recommend you focus on those first to maintain those. Next, followed by those customers who do not have interactive services or smart home devices, because these are certainly in high demand. Most new systems being sold today have interactive services and some type of smart device with cameras or doorbells, and target those customers to upgrade to add those options. And last, tackle those accounts that are in COM fail. Look, there's varying opinions or best ways to prioritize 3G changeouts. Generally, we suggest starting with protecting your higher RMR customers first, and then those with that are higher users of the product, and then shift your changeout to just focus on those customers that probably are a higher attrition risk last. The reason is if they're a higher attrition risk, such as the system being in COM fail for say 3 to 6 months already, chances are you've already lost that customer and they're probably likely to attrit. So why would you want to upgrade them? There's also the thought process, hey, we want to try and save that customer. So again, those are varying opinions. This is just some suggestions as you guys go forward. Certainly commercial fire should be high up in the list as well. Next is, that kind of leads me to the next slide, which is, when planning out a 3G campaign, there's really two paths to take. The first is just to save the account, and that may require providing free equipment or at cost. And certainly many are doing a good job of, if they're providing the equipment, whether it's at free or at some lower reduced price, getting, of course, that customer to re-sign a contract. There's some level of success there happening. And the next really path to take is, do you want to level up the customer equipment? Do you want to add things like interactive service? Maybe they don't already have an app, add additional devices such as cameras, doorbells, thermostats, or sensors. And the third thing to consider is, does it require a truck roll? Or can the customer just replace the radio themselves? And that will lead me to the next slide. These slides, by the way, I will provide a PDF to the CMS team, and they can distribute them, so you'll have copies of these as well for later reference if you need them. Now, we commissioned a study to understand what smart home security products customers were looking to purchase, as well as the ones that they're installing themselves versus having a pro install them. And the results of the study were helpful. And what we've found here is shown in the graphic here on the left. The top two asks for smart devices, I guess you'd refer to as outdoor cameras, which does include video doorbell. No surprise to that one. The one was a little bit surprised, but I thought it was good, was the smoke CO protection. That was a second close. So the suggestion here from this study is, as you're doing your 3G upgrades, it's considering your 3G upgrade campaign to offer the products that would level up your customers and they have a high appetite for. Certainly, it's easy to focus on things like making sure they have the interactive app and maybe adding doorbell camera, outdoor camera. But one of the things to think about as well is do they have any smoke protection? And so something to think about there if you're doing some leveling up upgrades. The next is the research around DIY versus pro installed systems. This study did show a majority of the customers do want a pro to install these things, but it does vary very much by age group. If they're certainly a millennial, basically 24 to 39 years old, 56% of that age group, wants a pro. And if you're a baby boomer, 65+% wants it professionally installed. Really, the takeaway from that slide, leads to really this slide here, which is we understand the burden of the cellular sunsets is, both labor and cost and attrition. If 40% of the population is okay with, installing things themselves, and you're comfortable allowing your customers to swap the radio themselves, a suggestion would be to leverage in your 3G campaign. We have a few products that really help with a DIY cell swap. One is, we certainly have one around the Lyric panel. The second one is called Cell Bounce, which will help with really any account, including specifically Lynx Touch. And really the last one here is the Vista. The Vista radio, which may be surprising to some on this call, and we battle tested this DIY swap process for the last over 18 months. We have a number of dealers doing this. Is that the homeowners and dealers we have support materials that a homeowner could swap this radio themselves. The Vista DIY swap doesn't require any wiring by the homeowner. They can simply unplug a connector from the old radio, plug into the new one. Again, we have an in-user video, about 5 minutes long, that walks a homeowner how to swap that radio. The link of it is shown here. Go to resideo.com/LTE upgrade. And at the bottom of that, you'll see various videos around this. Now, the next slide speaks really to this graphic, the smart home devices that your customers are most likely to buy during a 3G changeout, with again, outdoor cameras and smoke being the top two things. The good news here is no matter what Honeywell system your customer already has installed, these older systems support adding these devices without having to change out the panel. If you look at the graphic at the center with the blue home, this is showing the most common system that is likely installed and includes Vista, Lynx, and Lyric. Any one of these systems will support adding Wi-Fi cameras, doorbells, or thermostats, and the integration is done through the Resideo cloud so that the Resideo Total Connect app will work with them. Next, I'm going to cover the Total Connect app and how this can help during your 3G campaign, really to educate your customers on the interactive app and that maybe they do not already have. An interesting feature here on the Total Connect app is that it does have a built-in test drive function. No password is needed by your customer to demo, and they can see, typically how this is used if you're doing an install, right, separate from 3G. I guess it could be part of 3G as well. A good install practice here is your installer gets in the home, they have the homeowner download this app first, and then they tell the homeowner, okay, press test drive, get familiar with this app, and as you're getting familiar with this app, we're going to go install your security system. When we're done, we're going to come back and connect it to your app. The advantage of that, it's going to reduce some time for your installer on education because the homeowner already has some education already on the workflow with it. Certainly, this has helped out quite a bit with a lot of the remote sales that had to happen over the last 18, 24 months, where we had a lot of telephone sales taking place. Homeowners were downloading this with their sales rep on the phone and actually getting familiar with what the app experience would be for the security system. So that was helpful both on the front lines as well. And certainly, both that applies if you're going to be using this. If they don't have the Interact app today, when you do the 3G upgrade, certainly this will certainly help with that as well. Next, going to talk about 3G rebates. Look, we understand changing out millions of 3G units is very expensive, and I know that financial relief in some form helps. In this case, it's rebates, which we do offer. Resideo has a 3G rebate program available to all dealers, no matter what products you may be using. This rebate is up to $55 and is broken into three rebates that you can qualify for when doing an upgrade. First, you'll receive a $20 rebate for swapping the 3G radio to LTE. Second, you'll receive an additional $20 if you're adding Total Connect. And third, if you add any type of level of video to that count, then have it, it's $15. The combination of that is $55. So an example is if you're upgrading a Resideo alarm account from 3G LTE and that customer did not have Total Connect, and you add Total Connect, you'll receive a $40 rebate. Submitting these rebates can be done one of two ways. First, it's an automated process that can be done through AlarmNet 360, and highlighted in the yellow circle is the 3G dashboard that would be seen from AlarmNet 360, and it has a rebate tracker, and it's very simple. Once your team clicks on this and walks through the 3 steps to apply for a rebate. And the second way to submit rebates is if you can do a bulk upload to us of the swaps, especially if you're doing a lot of swaps. And this upload is done through submitting a spreadsheet. There's just 3 fields that need to be filled out. And there's an example of this on the dashboard in AlarmNet 360. Commercial fire radio, there is a rebate for commercial fire. It's a straight $50. The website to know that covers, again, all this is shown in the bottom right, same website I referred to earlier, which is resideo.com/LT upgrade. Again, you click on that, it will walk you through rebates, any type of video, end user video swaps. Another thing to talk about on end user videos, so we have end user videos not only just to swap the 3G radio, but we also have end user videos to swap the battery. So even separate from the 3G process, we had this other one for the battery. One of the reasons we did that is it's pretty common that during a 3G upgrade, the homeowner's battery is getting swapped too, because that's typically the #1 service call. So they just knock that one out too while they're there. So we have the video for that if you're going to be supporting any DIY type stuff. Next, this is the 2 workflows for the rebates and the steps for them. On the left side is the workflow for when upgrading a Resideo AlarmNet 3G account to LTE. On the right side is a workflow for when upgrading a non-Resideo AlarmNet 3G account to LTE. Both workflows need to be submitted by the end of the following month that you do the swap. So for example, if you do a swap today, you would need to submit that rebate by the end of January. Pretty straightforward. The only really difference in the workflow here is if you have if you're switching a non-Resideo product to Resideo, we need the old radio manufacturer and SIN number. That's really the only difference in the process when you're submitting the rebate. Look, moving on to another challenging issue. As everyone is aware, the shortage of chips has caused an insane level of supply chain issues for everybody, all manufacturers, all industries, and the level of trouble getting supply to customers, especially related to 3G radios for the security industry and fire industry, has been a problem. Matter of fact, with the AT&T docket or petition, I should say, I believe Resideo is the only manufacturer that's on record supporting and asking for the sunset extension and using chips as one of the reasons, because it's a real reason, of course. So I'm going to talk through really how things are going with Resideo on stock and things you should be aware of to help you to navigate what radios are available, what's not. So I guess, look, in addition to the chip supply issue and the logistics, this is what we need to understand. We were at 6 million radios that need to be swapped a year ago. We're down to 2 million. Still a lot of radios. For Resideo in particular, we've also seen, not just Resideo, everyone, we've seen some pretty crazy things happen on chip costs. I mean, some chips that used to cost us $0.25 now are $25, right? Supply and demand. We've seen lead times on chips, 3 to 10x on component times. So we do make our radios, particularly in North America. So once we have the components, we can typically spin the products up very quickly in our factory, hours, days, and get those on trucks and start going into different distribution hubs and directly to dealers' hands within days. The challenge is really just getting the product. Now, the good news here, and this is at this moment, it changes daily. We do have inventory of Vista radios, the 4 most common Vista radios, both Verizon and AT&T, and we have 4 different variations of that. We have a good supply of those right now, and that does make up the largest population of swaps need to be done. Second largest population of swaps that needs to be done is Lynx Touch. The Lynx Touch radio shortage is bad, and it's gotten worse. The good news here is we do have an alternative. It's called cell bounce. There's a catch. We would need you to move quickly on getting them. We have 9,000 cell bounce units left. I will talk a little bit more about cell bounce in the coming slides. But once those are gone, we got no more coming on cell bounce. And cell bounce is a really good solution for Lynx Touch. It can be used on any 8 AlarmNet AT&T 3G radio. But again, I'll chat more through that here on a couple slides.
Hey, we have a real quick question, Doug, if that's okay. The question came in, if there's any idea if the LTE CFA or CFV radios will be back in stock before the potential current sunset. Yep.
So thank you. So the fire radios in particular, that was the SKU was being asked. We do have inventory flowing, but it's going up against back orders. So when I say Vista radios, we have inventory on that's our normal security radio. The fire radios, and there's I think 6 different variations. As soon as we're making those, they're going up against back orders. The supply on that is challenged, but it's going to really loosen up for us in January. So what I'm recommending to dealers is focus on your Vista customers, focus on your Lynx customers, followed by fire, because the fire radios will improve as we come into January. And yes, you'll have them by the sunset. But make sure you have your orders in, because we're filling them, first in, first out based on back orders. And yes, we have quite a few back orders still on fire radios. Nothing as bad as like what we see on Lynx Touch, but there's still quite a few back orders on fire radios. Also keep in mind is be flexible on whether you're using Verizon or AT&T versions. What I mean by that is, you might have an AT&T 3G radio that needs to be swapped, but you can swap that to Verizon. And sometimes we might have more Verizon, say fire radios, we do have AT&T. So keep an eye out on that. Definitely work with your local rep. At the very end of this, I'll have a chart that shows who the reps are. If you don't know who your rep is, they should be able to help. They will be able to help you navigate, what's coming, what's not. Again, the message here is We have Vista radios. Fire radio help is coming. Make sure you have your orders on those. Make sure you're grabbing whatever Vista radios you have now, because we have inventory that could change very quickly. Lynx radios, the back orders that we have versus what we can get chips for is not good. I would quickly pivot to using cell bounce, and I would get those orders in right away. I expect the 9,000 units that we have right now as this morning will probably be gone in a few weeks. And I think that's about as real as I can be with everyone on this call as far as where we're at on inventories on the various radios. Was there any other questions that came through on inventory?
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you.
So the most popular radio again for Vista, this is it. This is the LTM XV. There is another variation. There's two versions of this, right? There's a Verizon AT&T. This is our lowest cost Vista radio. There's another version. It's called a P version. You just put a P in that part number in the middle. It's a little bit more money, but that's the one that can be used really on any manufacturer's panel. It has some additional features. And the other thing the P version has, we have plenty of inventory. We have inventory of the P as well, is it has an end user swappable cell unit. So that's, I think, going to be important as we go down this road, that we know LTE is going to sunset as well. The only way to protect you long term is to have end user swappable radios. And so the P version has that capability. This version, you'd have to swap, the whole radio as well during an LTE sunset. Now, here's cell bounce. Cell bounce is, and we'll leave plenty of time at the end to do some Q&A, but here's the high level on cell bounce for those that are interested. This is an end user, it's designed to be an end user installable device. It's about the size of an iPhone, but it's about 4 inches thick. It has a very large battery. It's actually, most of it is made up of battery inside, that the homeowner just plugs in near their AlarmNet AT&T 3G radio or panel. For example, this photo shows a Lynx Touch. The homeowner plugs this in within 25 feet of the panel, and the cell bounce will convert the 3G radio signals from that security panel to LTE 4G AT&T. To install it, you would just associate the cell bounce unit to the account you're upgrading. That's all done through AlarmNet 360, and it's done remotely. You ship it to the homeowner gets it, they plug it in, and everything works. Their alarm panel still works normally while this thing's in the mail. It doesn't associate or change anything to the actual unit that's working in the home until this is put in. It does have a 24-hour battery. It is FCC UL listed. Cost is $189. If you have quite a few you need to order, you can get your price down to $169. You just work with your rep on that. Again, very limited supply what's left on this. So I do expect, based on the demand, those will be sold very, very rapidly. And again, we'll answer a lot of questions at the end. Next, I'll finish up on a few more slides here, and that is related to what we're doing related to future sunsets. And look, we're going to have to keep dealing with these sunsets again and again, and we do have a plan. And what that plan is, and again, we recognize the disruption that these things have are ongoing. The disruption on these things is not just the labor and cost, it's the attrition. So we started this with our Lyric security platform, and we had to make the design of the panel modular. And we've continued that design with our Pro Series. And Pro Series is our future security platform. It will replace Lynx, Lyric, Vista over time. The platforms are released today. We have a couple of different variations of our Pro Series all on one platform currently available today. We have the Pro Series radio, that's the LTMP radio, and that all those platforms, we spent this time and energy to make sure how can we make these systems more effective security platforms. And again, the problem with the security hardware being used today, generally it isn't keeping pace with the speed at which technology is changing. Again, example of that is cellular sunsets taking place every 7 years. So the security system has to really be built for the future and last well past the next sunset, where the only thing the security dealer, needs to do is mail the homeowner radio, and they plug it in, and their security system is upgraded. That's what our Lyric platform does. That's what Pro Series platform does, and that's really what's critical to this new platform. If we appreciate your investment today, and it's really inspiring to see what we've all done to adapt the last I guess it's been 24 months now. We did continue to develop products during that time. And there's really 4 fundamental things that we think of and work through when we're developing our products. First, look, these products provide life safety and security and protection for millions of families and businesses. They have to be affordable, but they have to work 100% of the time for that one time that your customer needs it the most. And look, due to the challenge of our industry, our products have to reduce really creation costs and service costs. They have to give you lots of ways to reduce your costs, remote service costs, things like that. So you only have to roll a service truck when you absolutely need to, and reducing truck rolls is really core to this new platform. And the third thing here is they have to have innovation, right? They have to do things to reduce customer attrition. There's lots of new competitors and coming into this space. A lot of it mainly from the big players, DIY, Apple, Google, those folks in this space. And we got to make sure that there's a lot of people out there trying to take over your accounts, right? And it's not just another security dealer down the street from you. It's someone completely outside that's a big global company. So we have to make sure that it solves for that. And the last is the products have to have modern technology. You have to be ready for future innovations. And we're going to focus really the next couple slides on one product, and those relate to the devices and software that is the building blocks. Think of it a Lego for our most advanced all-in-one security system. And that is the Pro A7 Plus, and that's shown in the bottom right. And this is not just a small update to our legacy hardware and software, but we really engineered this from scratch. And to be the first security system is much like a Lego, where it can always expand, it can change, it can build, and that's really the focus with this one. This new platform also allows us to easily use something called RF lock. So our newer wireless sensors give the ability to have our two-way encrypted sensors, and you have the ability to lock those to the panel, which is done in the cloud through AlarmNet. Those sensors can be reused if you unlock them. They can be serviced by a subcontractor or certainly by your own technicians. And really, this panel has other things too, right? It has Alexa inside of it. You don't need to get Alexa; it's actually inside it. It has all the stuff you'd expect it to do. Bluetooth disarming from your phone, multiple different languages. The list just goes on. The modularity of this panel is really what's really important. And if you think about it, it's kind of crazy when you think about our industry has transformed and changed. And the one thing that hasn't changed is our customers continue to hold on to their security system and sensors well past their contract end date. We've included in this design a wireless takeover module. So this one SKU, and this is shown in the top left, does it all. So it will take over all the typical one-way wireless sensors, and those can be reused on this panel. So those include things like Honeywell 5800, the Qualys IQ1, Interlogix 2 gig sensors, and those can be used on this system. At the same time, you can add the newer sensors, the two-way encrypted 6 sensors, what we call them, into the panel, and that helps prevent takeovers, but also gives your customer the ability to use their legacy stuff, but also anything new has some better sensors associated with it. And the Modular Pro Series also allows you to mail the homeowner the cell unit, as I mentioned. So that's shown in the bottom left. This simply is that the actual cell unit is encased in plastic to make it really easy and protected. So if when the homeowner goes to swap it out. And last, the Wi-Fi Z-Wave card is also important. This is shown on the top right there. The Pro Series A7 Plus comes with this, and Wi-Fi or automation, it does change. I mean, we're on the latest generation of Z-Wave chips. There's talk about chip technology. There's some other stuff out there. Obviously, you've probably heard of Zigbee. You don't have to worry about those changes because we can pivot very quickly with this platform by just spinning up that daughter board that slides in here to support those. We don't have to spin up a whole brand new platform to support those or upgrade some new chipset that's out there. Now, the Pro Series does support a number of new two-way sensor types. These are shown here. One of I think some of the cooler ones are we have an outdoor siren, indoor siren, but the indoor siren also has a light. And then when you go to arm and disarm your system, you can set it up so it does a little flash of red or green, let you know when you're arming and disarming. If the alarm goes off, it will light up a white light to light the way. We have a shock combo door window sensor showing the bottom left, or bottom center, excuse me. That's pretty cool. You put it on a window, you can detect if it's broken or the door's open. So there's a lot of things that are done here with the two-way sensors, but the most important thing here is a remote capability. So the first thing is firmware updates. When you do a firmware update to the panel, we are updating not only the panel, but also the sensors and the edge devices. So these can receive firmware updates, battery life, single strength, all those things can be seen remotely by you through AlarmNet or by your customer, your technician from the panel. There's no more guesswork, and all settings. So if you need to change the sensitivity of a glass breaker motion, it's all done remotely, or can certainly be done from the panel. You have to go up and change diff switches. And that's the primary advantage here of two-way encrypted sensors. And then one of the sensors I'll point out specifically is our motion detector / motion camera option. This is an indoor motion. It's about $25 more than a traditional motion detector, but the difference is it's 100% wireless, but it also has a 10-second video clip it will take. This does work over a cellular Wi-Fi connected Pro Series panel, and pretty cool product if you want to just level up a different motion sensor and actually have it catch what's going on. So I've listed here, this is the last slide, and then we'll do Q&A. These are the local team members in your area. They're ready to help. Again, I appreciate the time with the CMS team and y'all for hosting this webinar and joining. And we have plenty of time for Q&A, so any questions y'all have, here to answer them.
There's a question in the chat from Fred that asked if the wireless conversion module, it could, for example, could it be you Takeover module, swap out an Interlogix panel, and then add on DSC or Resideo transmitters?
So good question. So the Takeover module can do dual 2 gig and Honeywell 5000 at the same time because they're on the same frequency. So you can go in and you reuse 2 gig and 5000 at the same time on the panel, in addition to any of the newer sensors. What you can't do is you can't do say 2 gig. You can't do like 2 gig and DSC. You can't do DSC and Honeywell because those are different frequencies. Good question.
Let's see. It's interesting. Let's see. Sterling has a good question. Ring is offering $10 a month cell-based central station service with interactive services, which sadly offer more functionality than TC2. Is Resideo and CMS worried about that offering? And what will this do to our industry? I mean, I guess I'll answer for CMS. Yeah, I mean, things are it's a race to the bottom. So, we are doing everything we can to automate and, accommodate anything regarding new services that maybe our competitors are offering. But yeah, I mean, that's a very aggressive offering that Amazon is pushing, or Ring. And, all the other larger corporations that are also coming into our space are going to be very aggressive as well. So I think, we could just do what we can do as a central station to continue to help service you guys as independent alarm dealers and come up with different ways of adding to your RMR in the future.
Ring who? I haven't heard of them.
Ring, right? Yeah, probably not. They're new startup.
Yeah. Look, I mean, interesting question. It's been out there for a while. It's been on for a while. That the reality is it's often a different customer type. There's going to be customer types that want the DIY, they go for the low cost, and there's the other customer types that are going to be pro. And this industry continues to grow. Every year. We're not concerned about the industry decreasing because of a $10 a month offering from Ring. It's certainly hard to stomach, being our industry's average is $42, $45 a month. Depends on who it is, but yeah, I think that's where it is. It's just a different customer type typically.
Good question. Also, Kirk, hello, Kirk from Cali. Hope you're doing great. He said he missed the first part. Can you briefly review the manufacturers that you can use cell bounce with?
Cell bounce will work on anything that is AlarmNet 3G AT&T. So it will work on Lynx Touch. It will work on Vista. It will work on Vista 21 IP. The thing I'm emphasizing is there's very, very few left. So if it's something you're interested in, get with your rep. You can get with me quickly so we can get you a unit, get it tested, and get you a product before we're out of them.
And again, just to highlight, the local reps are on the screen right here. So if you don't know your local rep, I'm assuming most people on here do, because I recognize almost every dealer on here. But get to know your rep, ask them about questions with regarding sunset, ask about cell bounce, and see what you can do to overcome this together. Again, it is coming in February. I've had a couple people already text me this morning about how the Today Show ran a big highlighted story on the sunset, not only for our industry, but even the airline industry. So this is going to be a big deal for many, many different spaces. So we want to hope for the best, but also be prepared that it's going to occur. Only no one will truly know, I guess, only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, so if it happens, it's probably a couple months, and that's if.
Right.
I think the problem again is this is not a slow roll down of the network; it's a switch.
Right.
They need that frequency. They're dying to use that frequency.
Yeah.
To redeploy for 5G. And really, the security industry is second to the petition. It's the PERS industry that's taken front and center because you have the LE that, really what they're saying is, look, we couldn't get in the homes because of COVID to upgrade their emergency medical panic systems. Now
Absolutely.
we can't get chips. And then the ones that we can get chips for, and we ship like these DIY kits to the elderly, we're only seeing a 70% swap rate. So 1/3 of them. And, so they're really pulling the heartstrings of Congress saying, look, we have a lot of people who are going to die.
Yeah, elderly.
They're not going to be monitored,
Yeah.
correct? So,
yeah. No, it's actually, oddly enough, when I pull up my internet on my phone, first thing that pops up is Yahoo, and front and center Yahoo homepage a couple weeks ago was about the PERS industry and their concerns with the sunset. So yeah, it's definitely getting media traction. Hopefully we get some feedback. Again, it's only going to be a couple months if it does get pushed. So do everything you can. Definitely rely on us at CMS with regards to any sunsetting radios. We can also help you that. It's going to be in 360. So communicate to us at CMS, communicate to your local reps. We want to overcome this and get this done together. So thank you so much, Doug. This has been really wonderful and very helpful.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
It's nice because I see a lot of the participants on here and being pretty quiet today. It must be because they're also like side shopping as well, maybe, but I'm just kidding. Awesome. Well, thanks guys. If you have any questions, give us a shout.
Thanks for hosting. See ya.
Bye.